The ceremonial hall of the Zerathi flagship gleamed with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed in rhythmic waves across its organic walls. Queen Mia of the Zerathi Empire stood at the center of the grand chamber, her translucent crystalline form refracting the ambient light into countless rainbow fragments. Her 6 graceful limbs moved with practiced elegance. She addressed the gathered assembly of allied species. Kevin Torres stood at parade rest near the entrance, his human frame dwarfed by the towering Krillian guards that flanked the queen. As part of the Terran diplomatic security force, he'd been assigned to this summit at a gesture of goodwill, a single human among hundreds of alien dignitaries. Most species still viewed humanity with barely concealed suspicion. The newcomers from Sol, the aggressive primates who'd clawed their way into galactic society through sheer stubborn determination. The queen's melodic voice resonated through the chamber, speaking in the harmonic language of her people. Kevin's translator implant converted her words into something his brain could process, though it could never quite capture the ethereal beauty of the original. And thus we seal this accord between our peoples, Mia concluded, her primary arms spreading wide in a gesture of unity. That's when the screaming started. The whole breach came without warning. One moment, the starboard wall was solid. The next, it exploded inward in a shower of crystalline shrapnel and twisted metal. The decompression alarm shrieked as atmosphere began venting into space. Kevin's combat instincts kicked in, before his conscious mind could process what was happening. Through the breach came something that defied description, a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to absorb light itself, punctuated by too many eyes and too many mouths. A void serpent. Kevin had only read about them in classified briefings. Ancient predators from the space between stars, drawn to concentrations of life and psychic energy. The creature's psychic scream hit the assembled delegates like a physical wave. The Krillian guards, massive warriors bred for combat across 1,000 generations, froze in absolute terror. Their genetic memory recognized this predator, remembered the epochs when void serpents hunted their ancestors across dead worlds. One by one, they fled, their courage shattered by primal fear. The other dignitaries scattered in panic. Even the Terran ambassador stumbled backward, her face pale with horror as the thing's presence pressed against her mind. But Kevin didn't run. His training had included resistance to psychic attacks, but that wasn't what kept him moving. As the massive serpent lunged toward Queen Mia, drawn by the intense psychic signature of her royal consciousness, Kevin's body moved on pure instinct. He covered the distance in 4 bounding strides, his magnetic boots keeping him anchored as atmosphere continued to vent. The queen stood frozen, not from fear, but from the complex neural feedback her species experienced when confronted with psychic predators. Her crystalline body flickered with distressed patterns. Kevin didn't think about the fact that he was 5'9" and barely 170 pounds. Didn't think about the fact that the void serpent was the size of a transit shuttle. Didn't think about the fact that his sidearm would be about as effective as spitting at a hurricane. He threw himself between the creature and the queen, spreading his arms wide. The serpent's first strike came like a hammer. Kevin felt ribs crack as one of its appendages caught him in the chest, but he held his ground. His combat armor sparked and shrieked as it tried to compensate for forces it was never designed to handle. Emergency bulkheads. Kevin roared into his comm, even as he drew his plasma pistol with his left hand. SEAL Section 7 Alpha. Queen's in danger. The second strike came from above. Kevin twisted, taking the blow on his shoulder instead of his head. His HUD went red with warnings as his armor's integrity dropped to 40%. The impact drove him to one knee, but he stayed between Mia and the monster. The void serpent's dozen mouths opened in silent screams, its psychic assault intensifying. Kevin felt it clawing at his mind, trying to find the fear response that would make him flee like all the others. But humans were strange that way. Terror could make them run. Yes, but it could also make them stand, could make them bare their teeth and laugh in the face of death. Not today, you ugly son of a... Kevin's words cut off as he emptied his pistol into the creature's central mass. The plasma bolt sizzled against its form, drawing its attention fully onto him. Behind him, he felt the queen move, heard her voice, stronger now, calling out in commands he couldn't understand. The emergency bulkheads began to descend, but they were too slow. The serpent lunged again. Kevin caught the strike on his forearms, his armor screaming as it absorbed energy that should have pulverized him. He could feel the creature's hunger, its cold alien desire to consume the queen's consciousness. Human, Mia's voice came through his translator, filled with something that might have been awe. Why do you not flee? Kevin spat blood, his grin fierce despite the pain radiating through every nerve. Ma'am, I'm from Earth. We've got a saying there. Ugh, on my watch. The queens for secondary arms moved in complex patterns, and suddenly the air around them began to crystallize. Ice formed in impossible geometric patterns, spreading outward from her form. Kevin understood she was buying time, using her own life energy to slow the creature. When I say run, Mia commanded, you will run. Human Kevin, respectfully, Your Majesty. Kevin gasped, not happening. The void serpent struck again, and this time Kevin went down. His armor failed completely, systems dying in cascades of sparks. But even as he fell, he grabbed onto one of the creature's appendages, his combat knife suddenly in his hand. The blade forged from Terran steel and enhanced with exotic matter bit deep into the serpent's flesh. The creature shrieked, a sound that existed in dimensions beyond the physical, and then the cavalry arrived, the bulkheads finally sealed. Emergency combat drones swarmed in through service tunnels, their weapons specifically tuned to harm psychic entities. The Royal Guard, those who'd overcome their terror or been stationed elsewhere, burst through secondary entrances with anti-void weaponry. But it was too late for Kevin. He lay on the deck, his body broken, his blood crystallizing in the thinning atmosphere. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Queen Mia's face hovering above his own, her crystalline features reflecting his image back at him. Why? She whispered. Kevin's smile was weak but genuine. Because everyone deserves someone who'll stand for them. When the darkness comes, Kevin woke 3 days later in the Zerathi medical bay, his body encased in regeneration gel. Queen Mia stood beside his tank, her form glowing with soft light. The doctors say you will live, she said, her voice filled with wonder. Your species' resilience is remarkable. Through the gel, Kevin managed a thumbs up. The Galactic Council has questions, Mia continued. How a human species barely 2 centuries in space could stand against a void serpent when guards bred for war could not. Kevin's translator caught his weak response. Guess. We're just built different. Queen Mia's laughter was like crystal bells. Indeed you are, Kevin Torres. Indeed you are. Outside the medical bay, the galaxy was beginning to reconsider its assessment of humanity. Perhaps these strange primates from Sol had something the older species had lost. Perhaps courage wasn't about the absence of fear, but about what you did when fear tried to make you run. The Terran ambassador filed her report that evening. It contained only 4 words that mattered. Humanity. F******, yeah.